Okay, so this is a few strategies for fascial gliding, fascial release to what we call the anterior upper quadrant, or the front of the chest, front of the shoulder area. Basically, a little background: the tighter the tissue is in the front of the chest and shoulder, the more it's going to pull us forward into that forward shoulder position. So I have my shirt off to show you a couple anatomical points that I just wanted to highlight. So to start, three things. To start, the pec area. So the pec major basically comes off at a few different angles. It comes off kind of like your sternum here. So it goes in the lower down towards the lower down your chest, the more it kind of comes up vertically towards the front of the shoulder, and the higher up your sternum, the more horizontally it goes. So basically, you can kind of think of this like area that just kind of fans towards the front of your shoulder here, across the front of the chest. That's area one. Area two is the deeper pec muscle, pec minor. That's kind of like right deep in that front. Like if you come just off the front of the shoulder, you can kind of sink down into that area basically you can think of it as like the groove, or the deepest part of this front of your chest shoulder area, deep down in there. Pec minor area, also a great place to get and feel out. And then lastly is right underneath your collarbone. So clavicle, collarbone here. If you just drop down right underneath it, there's tissue, muscle, fascia, subclavius muscle, basically that is really good to kind of help peel away from that clavicle as well. So all this tissue helps to kind of pull, or can too much pull your shoulder forward. Elongating it, releasing it, gliding it are good things. So you can start with your fingers. Fingers will help you can kind of, like, a lot of times, especially with the subclavius area, I'll have people kind of just glide, and it's almost like you're peeling that tissue down away from the clavicle, from the collarbone. You can do the same thing on the near side of the pec area, so just off the sternum, you can kind of be pulling that away as well. So all these things can kind of help to feel like you can just kind of pull your shoulder back a little further. The ball, so I'm just going to show you what I'll do with the ball against the wall. So the next thing we'll do is just kind of using the ball against the wall. So same idea, it could follow along underneath the clavicle, that whole subclavius area. Can do kind of all the different angles of the pec, so more horizontally again as you're more north, more vertically as you come down south, and kind of up towards the front. Everything kind of goes towards the front of the shoulder. And then lastly, deep in that deepest part of that groove is just kind of sinking in down there. And then we'll do some tack and stretch. So again, I would first do those things against the wall. So preferably the wall, you have maybe an open space. Sorry, let me move you over. You'd have an open space for your head to kind of come off. If you're basically just up against the wall here, maybe your head could be into an open space, or you're in like an open doorway. That just makes it a little easier. But you can do all those things, again, following the clavicle, maybe moving it down, following more of the pec, at the different angles, just trying to keep that shoulder relaxed back. And then maybe also just kind of sinking deepest into that groove there. So I'm going to turn my head away just so I don't kink my neck. And then lastly, I'm going to and all of these can just be individual dependent. You're exploring a little bit. Where do I feel the most restrictions, tightest, so on. And then lastly, I'll find those areas after I've kind of done some gliding, some moving around, and do a little tack and stretch. I always think it's good to kind of finish off with a little tack and stretch. So meaning the tack down, pressure into it, and then the best way, I think, for the purpose of this, is to hand starting facing the wall and then stretching it out away. So I'm also trying to reach straight back. I'm trying to roll. If you're looking at right at the side of my shoulder. I'm trying to roll my shoulder back towards behind me, open my palm up for external rotation, and even tip my shoulder blade into my rib cage. So those are different things you can kind of think about as you're doing this. So again, depending on where you're at, I'm gonna turn my head away. Here, palm open, shoulder back in the direction of my thumb as I rotate palm to face up, thumb back, and also trying to tip that shoulder blade into my rib cage area. Just kind of relax off of it, stretch into it. Relax off of it, stretch back into it. All the while, I'm trying to keep the pressure, or if anything, maybe I add more pressure into it every time I relax. Every time I relax my hand back towards the wall, and pull back. I can put, or every time I relax, hit my hand towards the wall, I can put more pressure into the ball, adding more tack down. Those are a few strategies for self-fascial gliding, fascial release to the anterior upper quadrant or the front of the chest or shoulder. Thank you.